Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for July 24th through 30th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 5 shows, I watched 2 movies, and I listened to 1 book. The first book I read this week was If You Tell by Gregg Olsen. This is a true crime book about America's worst mother. This is a case I had heard of before, and I think that I actually heard about this book based on one of the true crime videos I was watching. And then strangely enough, the day after I started reading this book, another one of the true crime channels I cover posted a 90-minute video about this case, so I finished reading the book and then I watched the video because that's how I roll. Shelley Notek is one of those people who always gets her way because she's terrifying if she doesn't. And she really likes inflicting pain on others, psychological, physical, she does it all. Due to the prolonged torture she put on certain people, including her children, 3 different people ended up dead. However, nobody really knew about this for a few decades. This book did a really good job of taking you through the entire timeline, so we get to know what her childhood was like, somebody she probably looked up to that exacerbated this situation, and then we saw as she went through 3 husbands and had 3 children and how they were affected by her life and the life of her 3rd husband because eventually he was an accomplice to everything that she did. It's a truly harrowing case. He is already out of prison and she could potentially get parole this year. If not, I think her sentence ends in 2025 or so it's not going to be long at all until she is out in the public again. This week I also finished my yearly reread of Me and White Supremacy. I've talked about this book on this channel before, obviously because this is a reread. I believe it's the 4th time I've read it. And I decided to make this book a yearly reread because it is an excellent primer on many different topics that have to do with white supremacy. And it's not enough to just not be racist, you have to be actively anti-racist. I've also read other books that touch on these topics, but this one I like to reread yearly just to really remember to continue to do the work of being anti-racist. There's always more that those with privilege could be doing, and this is a way that I remind myself to keep up with that. If you've never heard me talk about it before, or you've never heard about it before, this was originally a 28-day Instagram challenge where people were given a different topic on this subject each day, and then those topics were discussed, and there are journaling prompts at the end of every single chapter so you can reflect on your own experience and what you've done to perpetuate white supremacy in the past and what you can do in the future to not. I find this book really well put together, which is why I use it as my yearly refresh on the subject. On to what I watched this week. Chad and I started watching the 3rd season of The Umbrella Academy, which is just a delight. We're 7 episodes in, which I believe means we have 3 more left. I can't remember exactly how many episodes are in this season. As per normal with this show, the characters are going through a lot of things. There's always a world-ending event about to happen that they're trying to make not happen. But then there's also interpersonal things that start happening that obviously affect what's going on. I'm going to tell you some of what they are without any spoilers as to the show itself. If you don't know about this show, it's about 7 different characters who were all adopted by this one guy who basically knew that they were going to have superpowers and raised them to have those superpowers, and then things have gone wrong down the line. That's the basic premise of this. In this season, Allison is grieving no longer having people from past seasons, and that is altering her very fundamentally. 7 now goes by Victor, and that is accepted, and I love that. Luther finds a love interest, and that moves very fast. Diego finds out that he has a child. Klaus finds out some very important information that either was blocked from his memory or he just forgot about himself, and starts training that up a little bit. And 5 is faced with his future, quite literally. I'm excited to see the conclusion of this season. It's just always such a chaotic mess, but I really enjoy it. My roommates and I also watched a few more episodes of Westworld. We're still in the 1st season of that. But there was a very big reveal in the 7th and final episode that we watched this week, and I only saw it coming literally moments before it happened. This show is really good with playing with your mind, and I would love to know what this whole maze thing is about. It's also fantastic that we got Tessa Thompson as an addition to the cast. I was pretty sure I saw her name in the opening credits, and I was like, I don't know if I actually saw it or if that's what I wanted to see, and it was a very similar name, so I had to wait until she showed up, and then I cheered a little bit. This week I also stayed current on Canada's Drag Race. This was the Ruettes episode where each of the queens were paired up and had to do a lip sync with another person, which is a challenge. You definitely have to be able to play off that person. You definitely have to be able to split it up in such a way that makes the song really engaging, because this isn't like a lip sync battle where you can just do your own thing and try to be the best. You have to play off another person, and that is kind of a fun challenge actually. Right off the bat, Miss Fierce Delicious thinks that some shade is going on and is really bitchy about it, and I just really wish she went home on the first episode. I cannot handle her. As for RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars All Winners, this was the final episode. I will not tell you who won the 2 categories that we were having Lollapaloozas for, but I am very happy with both of them. I also really liked how they split this episode up. So we still got a little bit of a mini challenge, they still got to walk the runway and one last look, and then we had 2 different lip sync battles. So we had rounds 1 and 2 of the first lip sync battle, and then rounds 1 and 2 of the second lip sync battle, and then went back to the final round of the first and then the final round of the second, and I really liked that format. I am absolutely so happy for the queens that won. It's actually really hard to pick who would be my favorite for the first, but I'm really happy for the person who did win. I think I would have been happy with a couple of them, and then I would have been, you know, still happy for the other ones, but not as happy, if that makes any sense. And then I am super happy for the queen that won the big challenge. It's just so good. And then for the final show I watched this week, it's really just I watched the Food Network while I was cross-stitching. I'm in my parents' basement, you might be able to notice, and when I'm at a place that has cable, I just throw on the Food Network and I cross-stitch while listening to it. So this week it was actually 2 shows technically from the Food Network. I listened to no, actually it was 3. There were 3 different shows. I listened to a lot of Beat Bobby Flay, I listened to a lot of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and then I listened to a lot of this show that was filmed during the current situations where this woman has her kids and then also some nephews, and they actually shoot the show. I don't know what the show is called though, because I never actually really look up to see what it's called. Her name is Ree, if that helps anybody figure out what show I'm talking about. It's really lovely because it's her just basically talking to her kids or her nephews or her sons-in-law and just talking about the different types of food she's making on whatever theme, and it's just so wholesome and lovely, and it's really nice to listen to as well. This week I also watched 2 movies, the first one being the 1995 movie Johnny Mnemonic, which takes place in 2021, and the tech is absolutely hilarious. However, it does take place during an international health crisis, so at least the movie got that right. Basically, this movie is about Keanu Reeves' character. He is what's called a mnemonic, which is somebody who has basically disk drive space inserted into their brain, and they can transfer large amounts of knowledge from one place to another. I say large, but it's like large because some people's phones can transfer this amount of knowledge now, but that's fine, whatever. They still use fax machines and that type of thing in this 2021 future. So basically he's tasked with taking this large amount of information from one place to another, but for some reason you can put more than your capacity into your head. If that happens, your brain starts breaking down and like you need to get it out pretty quickly. And he makes the decision to do this, but then things go terribly awry. This was fun to make fun of because obviously the tech stuff is way out of date. Our 2021 is very different than what they assumed 2021 would look like. But then it's also about this global health crisis and the potential way to fix it. So that was a little bit on the nose. We've been going through a heat wave, so we made the decision to go to a movie theater thinking that it was going to be air conditioned. Spoiler alert, it wasn't, although it was cooler than our house, so that was fine. And we went to see the movie Nope. This is a movie that concerns a couple of siblings. One of them lives on the family horse ranch and trains horses for Hollywood productions. They have a little bit of a rivalry with this tourist trap that's kind of down the road from them, where they do these live action type of shows, and it's basically an Old West set. And there's a guy that works there who was a child actor, so that's a whole big draw as well. But then weird things start happening in this area, and they try to figure out how to prove it to the rest of the world. I thought this was inventive and creative. It was suitably creepy. Chad watched the wall for a good portion of it. There was at least one jump scare that got me, so I really appreciate that. And one of the many things I loved about this movie is there wasn't some random romance just shoehorned in there for no reason. I really appreciated that. Onto the book I listened to this week, that was The Cartographers. I actually talked about this in my last video, which was the R Tag Means Death video, which is a whole book tag about the first season of Our Flag Means Death, so if you haven't seen that, please go check it out. I'll link it down below and up in the card if I remember to do that thing. In any case, this book is about a woman named Nell. She has trained as a cartographer. She used to work as a cartographer at the New York Public Library alongside her father, actually, who was very high up in the field. However, 7 years ago they had a huge argument and he basically kicked her out of the entire field. No reputable cartography business anywhere will hire her. So for the last 7 years or so, she's been working for this business that reproduces old famous maps, but then makes them look older and creepier. Basically like the tourist trash versions of really old, interesting maps. Something happens to get her called back to the map division of the New York Public Library, and then from there she has to go on this mission to figure out the mystery of a very certain map. It has a big piece to do with not only her personal history, but her family history. What I really enjoyed about this audiobook is because there are sections of this that are told by other people who are telling her about these backstory sections. This audiobook had different voice actors for all of those sections. I'm a sucker for a full cast audiobook, so I always really enjoy that. I found this fast-paced and interesting. It has kind of the academia vibe to it because it is a very particular type of study. It also has some other vibes to it that I'm not going to wreck for you, but I very much enjoyed that. Also, if you've ever read Paper Towns, information you learn from that shows up in this. And I actually really enjoyed how that real-world fact was incorporated into this book. If anyone knows what I'm talking about or can guess what I'm talking about, put the name of the town down in the comments below. This was a book about academia and friendship and unrequited things and different problems with relationships, and I just very much enjoyed it. It also ends in a very open way where you don't exactly know what's going on for all the characters, and I can also appreciate that. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!